A5 for San Francisco just wrapped up, and everyone has been focusing on the quarterback battle. So in today's videos, that's where we're going to start. This was the first padded practice for San Francisco, and since Brock Purdy did have a rest day yesterday, he was a full participant today as well as tomorrow expectedly. Let's go over how each quarterback performed and how Kyle Shanahan decided to break up the reps today. One of the most important things to mention when talking about this quarterback battle is who's taking what team reps. And today, much like all of the other practices that Brock Purdy has participated in, he's taken all the first team reps. This means that, for me, I think it's clear that even though Kyle Shanahan has said there's a quarterback battle, it's not really a quarterback battle. It looks like it's Brock Purdy's job to lose, and he hasn't really performed in a way that would suspect that he would lose his job, especially since he's coming off that major injury. Let's talk about how every quarterback performed today, though. Brock Purdy threw it a total of 16 times today, hitting 12 of those. So he went 12 of 16 with one interception. The interception he threw was to Dre Greenlaw, where he was dropping into zone coverage. It was a good play by Dre Greenlaw, kind of baiting him into that throw. Brock Purdy shouldn't have made that throw, but I think this was maybe Brock Purdy's best day of camp so far. I mean, he was moving the ball efficiently. He didn't look super rusty. He did have a couple of throws that were off, but that's to be expected with a quarterback working his way back from an injury. What I'm encouraged by most on Brock Purdy's part is how much he's actually progressed from day one when he went 2 of 9 to now going 12 of 16 against the Niners defense, who was number 1 across the entire NFL. I don't think this point's stressed enough. Another point that's overlooked is how long it actually takes an offense to get the rhythm and timing down. I mean, usually we see the teams actually start clicking in like week 8, and that's because the offense is finally getting their full rhythm down. And that's not an excuse for Brock Purdy throwing this interception. I'm just trying to give an overall glimpse, including of these other quarterbacks today, Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. The difference, though, is these guys weren't facing the first team defense all day. Moving on to Trey Lance, who also performed extremely well today. He went 9 of 11 on team drills, looked accurate, decisive, and was fantastic throughout the day. Probably the best quarterback on the field in my opinion. Today's Lance was much different than the Lance we've seen of recent days. He looked a lot more confident, decisive, wasn't hesitating with the ball, but was really just letting it rip. And this is when Trey Lance always plays best. He got a total of 18 reps in comparison to Brock Purdy's 27 reps. Sam Darnold also got 18 reps. So that's another way I look at this battle. If Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are getting the same number of reps while Brock Purdy is getting 10 more reps per practice he's in, it signifies to me that Brock Purdy's ahead of them. Moving on to Sam Darnold, who continues to impress throughout this camp, today was no exception. He was in on 18 plays, as I mentioned, but he only threw on 9 of those plays, going 7 of 9, high accuracy. He has great throws. I mean, when you're watching the film, you'll see him darting in there. His arm talent is real. Personally, I am concerned about Sam Darnold's decision making when it comes game time. He might be a great practice quarterback. He might be the next Joe Montana in practice, but so far in the NFL, he's proven time and time again he's made bad decisions, and interceptions usually are something that stick with you throughout your career. Moving on to the Niners' other quarterback, Brandon Allen, who's gotten a lot of press recently since Joe Burrow, who's his former team, Cincinnati, has sustained an injury. So many people have speculated that Brandon Allen might be traded. But let's talk about how he did as the 4th string quarterback today. His passing, he went 1 of 3. So nothing to be really noted here. Okay, so this is the part of the video that I usually peer into the quarterback depth chart a little bit and look who's actually there and who's starting ahead of who. And in today's video, I'm starting the same way I start every video and saying Brock Purdy is quarterback 1. I don't see it changing yet. If it does change, I will let you guys know, like I let you guys know when Sam Darnold started outperforming Trey Lance. But today, moving on to the quarterback 2 role, I think that Trey Lance outperformed every quarterback on the field today. He was accurate, decisive. His drops today were drops. It wasn't really his fault, in my opinion, on those throws. He was great. I was impressed by Trey Lance's rebound. So right now he's back to the number 2 role, in my opinion, because I just feel like the Niners did give up so much to get Trey Lance, and he is improving throughout this training camp. Moving on to my number 3 role, this is Sam Darnold. Even though he has stacked a couple days now, Trey Lance is someone the Niners have put a ton of faith into. That doesn't mean this isn't like very neck and neck, because I kind of struggled deciding who I was going to put here today. So that tells you how close I view these guys. Moving on to the 3rd or 4th quarterback, however you want to view him, Brandon Allen. I don't see him overthrowing any of these guys, but I wonder if the Niners are looking at Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, or one of those guys as a trade chip. I know that's been going around recently. But before we end today's video, I do want to bring some positivity into this discussion and highlight some goods of each quarterback in this quarterback room. Because ultimately, what's good for one quarterback is what's good for Niners fans. Starting out with Brock Purdy. He's throwing much sooner than anticipated, and his first day, he went 2 of 9. But most recently, he looks improved. Every single day he goes out there, he improves a little bit and looks like the old Brock we used to know. Furthermore, his arm strength to me looks similar pre-injury. Going on to Trey Lance, his mechanics are much improved. If you look at his lower body as well as his release, it's much quicker. This is going to make him be able to be a much more effective NFL quarterback. We're yet to see him in game action, but I'm excited considering it has held up well so far in camp, given his strong performance today. Sam Darnold is an extremely talented quarterback and is a very good thrower of the football, even though that's been memed to death this offseason. I do think he's a talented guy. And like many people have pointed out, Sam Darnold has gone to bad teams. I mean, the Jets and the Panthers. Now he has a coaching staff that's solidified around him, and maybe is going to have the opportunity to show he had a reason for being picked with the 3rd overall pick, much like Trey Lance. Moving on to Brandon Allen, he's a veteran guy, and he was under Joe Burrow for a while. So maybe the Niners get a 7th round pick out of him or something. Since Joe Burrow is injured right now, maybe they want a guy who knows their offense. These are my positives of the quarterback room. I know that's easy to hyper focus on the negatives, such as Brock Purdy's interception or stuff like that today, but each quarterback does have something to bring to the room, and I'm excited to watch this quarterback battle for the 2nd string job play out. I'd love to hear your thoughts though about this battle and what's actually happening in this training camp down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.